Good morning and welcome to the Peorian. I'm your host, Paul Gordon. Nearly a century ago, about 300 agricultural and business leaders got together in Springfield, Massachusetts to talk about how to advance the activities of boys and girls in the eastern states, if not the entire country. They wanted activities created and promoted to teach those boys and girls the obligations and responsibilities of citizenship. And they believed it was best to get them young, because, after all, they said, habits are formed in youth. That first organization was called the Boys and Girls Bureau, and within a few years it became known as the Junior Achievement Bureau. Today it is called Junior Achievement, and its goals are basically the same, with some fine-tuning through the years to emphasize business skills and leadership. It should not be surprising that Junior Achievement enjoys the support of almost all the stalwarts of American business, be it individual or corporate leaders. In Central Illinois, it is no different. Under the leadership of Larry Timm and the support of such companies as Caterpillar Incorporated, State Farm, Komatsu, and Accenture, Junior Achievement of Central Illinois has experienced tremendous growth since 2004. Larry Timm is my guest today, and he will help us learn more about this not-for-profit organization, including how you, our viewers, can get involved. That's when we come back. Welcome back to the Peorian. My guest today is Larry Timm, president of Junior Achievement of Central Illinois. Welcome, Larry. I got to tell you, with the amount of respect that you and your organization have in this community, a tremendous amount of respect, I am amazed that I haven't had you on our show before this. I apologize for that, and thank you for coming on today.
Paul, it's many years we've known each other, and what you've done in the community, it's a delight to be on your show.
Thank you. I mentioned in my opening monologue, Larry, that one of the operating philosophies of Junior Achievement is that, and I'm going to give you a quote here, habits are formed in youth. That quote came from one of the co-founders. And that was the case, at least when the organization was formed nearly 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Does that belief still hold true today?
It is, absolutely. Habits are formed in youth, and one of the best way to form a habit is through learning by doing. And when Theodore Vail founded Junior Achievement in 1919, it began really to be, Paul, an after-school initiative.
Okay.
People would experience JA from 6 to 8 o'clock at night. Something as simple as lack of transportation could keep someone from experiencing JA. So over the years, it has metamorphosized, if you will, into the literal school day. And that allows Junior Achievement now to reach 10 million kids globally, about 120 countries, 4 million here in America, and right here in Central Illinois, just under 15,000 students last year.
Okay. 14,800 and something, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
And this year you have a goal of 17,000, right?
Yeah, we do. Our 9-year track record now is 304%, which means there was a day early in my career here when we reached 3,600 kids a year. And we're only successful if other people allow us to be in the community, in the way that schools have grabbed our curriculum and our materials, and the way that adults have rallied around the JA experience. That's really what makes it unique, Paul, is that people like you during the school day now go in 5 or 6 times right into the school day with the, quote, real school teacher in the class, and you lead the kids through the JA exercises.
You mentioned what it used to be, how many kids were reached. You came on in 2004. What have you done different to make it grow 300%?
Yeah, I would have to say the secret of JA's growth is actually what's in it for the adult. I mean, the kids experience JA, but they don't make any funding decisions. They don't make curriculum decisions. Our customer, if you will, is the school teacher.
Okay.
They're the gatekeeper on market share. And if I can get an adult to go in and teach JA, they'll go back to people in their department or in their wing and say, you got to try this. I went in 5 or 6 times, about 30 to 45 minutes. JA gave me everything I needed. I felt like a hero. I don't know how the real school teacher does it every day, and a myriad of other reasons. And then people have really used it as a corporate culture or a team building exercise with their coworkers.
What was your first exposure to JA?
My first exposure was back as the business department head at Peoria Christian School around the year 2000. I'm a marketing and ad guy by trade, but I went to PCS to do electives, teaching at the high school level. Never had heard of JA, never thought I would work for JA. But when Pete Anderton from Caterpillar came in and led that experience for 3 years, and I saw what it did for the students, and I saw how much Mr. Anderton enjoyed it, then when I got a chance to ultimately work for the organization, I went for it.
You mentioned co-founder Theodore Vail a little bit ago, and when I was researching Junior Achievement's history, I came across this quote. He said that the country needed then, and we're talking 1918, what the country needed is to teach the growing generation to realize that thrift and economy, coupled with industry, are necessary now as they were in the past. That still is true, right?
Do you think thrift and economy is necessary
that never
now?
goes out of
what's the stat we've heard? I think we spend $1.22 for every dollar that we earn, and so saving is futile, a lot of people think, and so to teach kids how to manage a buck, that is really one of the 3 pillars of junior achievement, always has been. Work readiness, preparing people, youth, for the world of work, and entrepreneurship, thinking like an entrepreneur. Because if you don't run your own business, you're going to work for somebody who does.
Okay. What grades do you target?
Kindergarten through 12th.
Kindergarten, that's soon, that young.
Yeah, and that's a common question. Come on, Larry, what are you going to teach a 5-year-old about how to manage a buck? Penny, nickel, dime, quarter. We teach kids what work is. We teach them that work is a blessing, that you don't get paid for every little bit of work that you do. You can literally or fictitiously grow vegetables through one of our exercises, and the reward for your work is the vegetables. Well, you can eat your reward if you want. So even at age 5, penny, nickel, dime, quarter, the value of work, all the way through high school where kids are running a business simulation totally on the internet.
Wow. And are you in all of the schools in Peoria right now?
We're doing about 60 schools. That's in the Peoria area, McLean County, Bloomington-Normal area, and we also have about 40 classrooms in Lincoln, Illinois, which is Logan County.
You could expand even further, correct?
We could. There are counties in which we're licensed to operate. We're not there. When you've grown 300%, you got to just focus on the counties in which you're currently in.
Okay. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the business aspects and skills that Junior Achievement teaches. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Peorian. I'm with Larry Timm, President of Junior Achievement of Central Illinois. In the previous segment, Larry, you said that JA puts volunteers in pretty much any classroom from kindergarten through high school. You also mentioned, okay, it does seem obvious that the grade schoolers are going to learn something quite different from high school seniors. It comes down to what concepts the younger students can understand. That's what you said. Dimes, pennies, dimes, nickels. Can you give us some more examples of what, well, let's say a 3rd grader is going to learn as opposed to a 12th grader?
Yeah, I actually, one of my favorite classes, because you know, I try to get to teach different grades, but 2nd grade is our community.
Okay.
And in kindergarten, it's our families, ourselves. People are really learning just how money affects them. And then as that economic circle is widening every year.
Okay.
So when they get to 6th grade, global marketplace. Okay, so in 2nd grade, we're just talking about community. And in community, one of the things they learn is unit versus assembly production. So there's a donut making exercise where the kids are working in unit, and they are the ones who take their paper donut, their jelly, their sugar, their eggs, their flour, and they're making them one at a time and doing all the steps. But then we'll run them through assembly, where there's even a kid at the end who's quality control on how well the jelly is on that donut. And when those kids can crank out on assembly, and we talk about things that work well in an assembly environment. televisions versus unit, a painting, and the difference there. First grade, kids are learning needs and wants. Wow, you talk about kids who are learning that food, clothing, and shelter is a need, but then you throw a picture of a dog or a cat up there, and the the argument's pretty compelling over why a dog or a cat is a need. So it's good stuff.
The parents would probably disagree with that. How much effort do you have to put in to try to match a volunteer with a certain grade level? Now, I'm not trying to be facetious, but it would seem that patience would certainly be one of the facets you'd have to look at.
Yeah, you know, Paul, when we've grown the way that we've grown, you would think that we would really try to coerce business people, stay-at-home moms, college students, retirees, anybody to go into a classroom. All those people are eligible. But we don't beg or sugarcoat people to go into a class because they're really controlling market share. They have to want to go in there. They have to prepare before they go in there.
Okay.
They have to do their homework too. Even though you're presenting unit versus assembly production and it's all mapped out for you, right down to the minute how you're supposed to lead people there, you got to prepare the night before. You're still making a presentation and leading kids through an exercise, and a great mentor and friend becomes a school teacher. That's one of the things that surprised me, is I thought a lot of parents would want to go through the classes with their kids. But I find a lot of adults, they form a bond with the school teacher and they go back year after year after year
to that
same class.
Okay. So you don't worry about necessarily then matching, let's say, somebody who has young children at home with a young children's class necessarily.
We really talk to them when we give them an info session or a training, which we do either online or face-to-face, to be confident on the materials and confident on the age group to which they choose to present.
Okay.
And that's the key, because you might have little ones at home, but you might have no interest in actually leading, kindergarten, first, second grade. Some people say, I experience that at home every day. I'd like to go to a demographic, to a middle school, begin to learn about how those kids think, so that when my kids are older, I'll be able to relate better.
Quickly, you did mention too in a previous segment about the growth. Where's the most growth going on? In Peoria, or is it one of the other counties?
Well, we have grown tremendously in Peoria, but actually one of the fastest growing JA counties in America over the last 9-10 years is McLean County.
No kidding, why?
Bloomington Normal. The way that Unit District 5, District 87, State Farm, mom and pop businesses, the way that everyone has just gravitated to that experience, to have 4 classrooms over there, and a couple of years ago to have a high of 194.
Wow.
People, the adults, again, back to our secret for our growth, they're really seeing the value of JA.
We're going to take a break now for some messages, and when we come back, we're going to talk with Larry about how people can volunteer for junior achievement, including as classroom consultants. We'll also talk about the organization's chief fundraiser, which starts soon. But first, here is our own Kevin Kaiser to talk about what's going on in the literary world.
Hey, let me be the first to wish you the best on this, the first day of Nagasaki Kunchi. I hope you and your family enjoy the festival, culminating with the Dragon Dance on Tuesday. See you out there. But now to the books, and another exciting episode of the award-entered segment, Kevin Reads Stuff So You Don't Have To. This week it's American Empire, The Rise of a Global Power and the Democratic Revolution at Home, 1945 to 2000, by Joshua Freeman. This has rightly been heralded as a landmark work which provides a sweeping portrait of America beginning in 1945. The country had been awakened after World War II, becoming an economic and technological juggernaut with ever-expanding influence and conflict. And Freeman masterfully unfolds the narrative of democratic successes and outlines the domestic and foreign affairs involved. One in particular is Vietnam. As Freeman points out, it was a venture destined for failure, as the communists conducted war in a different way than we did. Their headquarters were in cave complexes and jungle camps. Ours were air-conditioned with mess halls, movie theaters, and bowling alleys. The Army even built 40 ice cream making plants in Vietnam during the war. Compared to World War II, where 39% of those serving were in combat roles, only 14% were in combat roles in Vietnam. And the flow of goods into South Vietnam overwhelmed the infrastructure, which gave the U.S. a crash course in construction, and the adoption of container shipping, which revolutionized logistics. Along with the 58,000 killed or lost during the war, arguably the saddest part of the conflict was the domestic strategy used by Kennedy and Johnson to justify it. The strategy was based around the idea that in order to maintain public support for an unpopular war, said war must not be a burden on the public, except for the young men sent off to fight it. Kennedy and Johnson waged the war with as little disruption to domestic life as possible without raising taxes or asking for public service and sacrifice. This strategy is one future presidents would fall back on to bolster support for unpopular military actions again and again. Another major effect of the Vietnam War was for the first time large numbers of Americans had lost respect for the authority and office of the presidency, something that was further eroded by Richard M. Nixon. But that's just one little section from the sprawling book that begins with the end of World War II and ends with the beginning of the Bush administration. So that's American Empire, the Rise of a Global Power and the Democratic Revolution at Home, 1945 to 2000, by Joshua Freeman, available now at places of a bookish nature. And that does it for another award-entered segment of Kevin Read Stuff So You Don't Have To. And as always, you are welcome.
Welcome back to the Peorian. My guest today is Larry Timm, president of Junior Achievement of Central Illinois. At the break, Larry, I said we would talk about how people can get involved as volunteers. You are still, even though the school year has started, we're well into the school year, you still need classroom volunteers, correct?
Absolutely. And as much as I hate to say it, every semester there's a handful of classes that don't get taught simply because there isn't a willing adult to teach them. And we have classes that start in late October, they start in November, probably have a few that start in December as well. So one of the easiest ways to get yourself familiar with what it takes to be a classroom consultant or an in-class volunteer is simply to go to our website, juniораchievement.biz on the net. Upper left corner, in the classroom, you can learn about why people teach, the secret behind our growth. There are video nuggets there where you can become really familiar with the experience. But we don't stop it there. I mean, we want you to talk face-to-face with a member of our staff, which would be our program director, Angie Hauk, our program manager, Donna Morovic, over in McLean County. And they, many times in a face-to-face environment, either at the office, virtually, or at a place of business, they'll walk you through what it takes to do really well in the class.
Is there any other volunteer that you need? Any other, besides in the classroom, what else do you need?
Well, the classroom is key, but it's a great question, Paul, because a lot of people really like the mission of JA, and a lot of people use it because of the public speaking that comes with it, the preparing, the presenting, but still that's a lot for people. And some people just aren't comfortable with that, but they want to help. And yesterday we did our go-kart Grand Prix in Peoria. That's a big one where people come and work in our pit crew on the track, etc. But we have a couple events coming up where people can help with our online holiday auction,
which I want to talk about.
Yeah,
yes.
That's coming up in November, but we have, whether it's picking up items, contributing items, working with social media to get folks in their sphere of influence to actually bid on items. We also do kit assembly. Kit assembly is great because our kits will teach up to 30 students.
Okay.
Well, a lot of classes will have 12, 15, 18, 20 students. And when we're doing 600 classes a year, we have an efficient way to recycle all those materials back and build full kits again. So we have volunteer groups come into our office and they'll work on building those back. And then we have a JA Titan event in April. That's that online where kids run a business simulation online. So people can come to that event, which is usually at One Tech Plaza downtown as well. Those are just a few ideas.
Okay. You mentioned a few seconds ago the online holiday auction. Yeah. That is your biggest fundraiser, correct?
Well, it's one of them. Yeah, it actually, karting does a really nice job for us. It's a corporate event. Okay. JA Titan is really big every year because companies like to sponsor high school teams to come in and compete. Okay. Okay. That works out really well. This auction, what we like is that it's virtual, not a brick and mortar facility auction. So it's like eBay. We ship to multiple states every year. People can contribute those priceless items, those experience items, as well as just products like gift cards, hotel stays. Memorabilia does really well. And it just fosters a lot of awareness for JA, and of course the money goes right into programs.
When you run it for 2 months like that, it starts November 1st?
It'll start in early November. I don't know the exact day. It'll run for roughly a month. Right?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Roughly a month. That's quite a long time for an online auction, right?
Yeah, but what it allows us to do is put more items out there in the middle of the auction.
Okay.
And you kind of, there's an open period there where you kind of see this, and then of course, like any online auction, the last 20 minutes is pretty fun. It's pretty fun.
And by putting extra things on during the middle, that keeps people coming back to look.
Yeah, it sure does. And with the advent of the social media too, for people to be able to push to their sphere of influence from anywhere to get people to bid, it's really interesting to see the kind of people that get exposed to JA. And if there are people bidding from a major metro area, for instance, there's going to be a JA there, so it becomes a way to maybe hook them into JA in another state.
It runs from early November for approximately a month, and this is the 5th annual online auction.
At least.
Correct?
Yeah, it's funny. It started with a phone-a-thon, where we still call a lot of people every fall, individuals and businesses that support us.
Yeah.
And when the recession hit, it was, I really want to help, but I don't have a lot of cash. So we began to get a lot of products and services donated, which we ran through our auction.
And it has grown each year.
It has. Yeah, it does it does 5 figures for us.
What are some of the more popular items?
Hotel stays are really good. Gift cards are really good. Jewelry. But this year we've really worked on more experience-based. We had a local guy at an exclusive clay place who did an experience with clay shooting. Did really well.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I hope you've enjoyed today's program and now know more about junior achievement. If you have the time and the kind of expertise that the organization needs, visit juniorachievement.biz. Remember, too, that you can see this and other episodes of The Peorian on our website, thepeorian.com, including a little extra conversation that doesn't make it to this broadcast. And tune in for another episode next Sunday at 8 a.m. on WHOI TV and on our website, thepeorian.com. Have a good week.
Ooh.